Okay, guys, into the last couple of games now of the league phase of the National League Championship. We are still in second behind Auckland City. That's coming up shortly, but before we play them, got the Phoenix Reserves. We should be able to beat them at home, but if we don't and if they beat us, we could miss the final, which would be very, very bad indeed considering how hot favourites we are, okay, for the league and for the final. So let's just make sure we don't lose to these guys and then beat Auckland City again, because we know we can do that. We're very good at doing that, in fact, unless it's a big game. This isn't, just a league game, so we should be fine. Pick up wins these next couple of games, and we should be in the grand final. Get it done. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 54 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. And coming up today, going to play two of our last four games in the championship phase of the National League with Cashmere Tech. We're going to take on the Phoenix Reserves. Those guys, of course, the backups to the Wellington Phoenix from the Alien off the back of taking on Auckland City away from home. We'll then take on Manurewa. Hopefully wins in these games that we're going to play during the course of today's episode should be enough for us to make sure we'll make our way through to the National League Grand Final. So if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but yesterday played the Chatham Cup final also against Auckland City and also the first leg of our World Cup qualifying final with the All Whites against New Caledonia. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Thankfully, picked up wins in both those games. So we've picked up the Chatham Cup here this season yet again with Cashmere Technical and are off to the 2030 World Cup with the All Whites. Today, going to switch our focus back to the National League Championship. Currently, we're in second position, but this first game coming up actually quite a big one. If we beat the Phoenix Reserves, that would take us a long way towards booking our spot in the grand final. You'd imagine, alongside Auckland City so far, the only team to win all their games in this championship phase. We, of course, dropped points to Western Suburbs, rotating our team before we did beat Auckland City in that Chatham Cup final yesterday, so it did kind of pay off, but hopefully not going to backfire in terms of us making the grand final in this National League Championship. The Wellington Phoenix Reserves, as you can see there, pretty good so far. They did suffer a defeat 1-0 to Auckland City, also drew with Petone, but have picked up wins over Manukau United, the Dunedin City Royals, and Melbourne United. Definitely a team that we need to respect, but hopefully this is one that we can beat, especially as this is at home, as is that second game when we take on Manurewa, who are currently bottom of the league without a win. So you'd imagine that is definitely a winnable game off the back of taking on Auckland City. The reason we're skipping over that one, played them yesterday, and I'm thinking probably going to play them again tomorrow in the National League Grand Final, considering how good we are both supposed to be in this New Zealand National League Championship. In terms of our squad going in to today's episode, we have got an injury. Bailey Stevenson and Adam White, they have recovered from ones recently, so they're available. Adam White, importantly, being our first choice left back. But Matthew de Hotman de Villiers is our backup left winger these days. Lower back stress fracture. He is out pretty much for the rest of the season. So unfortunately, one of our new signings from AFC Auckland won't be featuring for the rest of the season, it looks like, here at Cashmere Technical. But even then, not too sure he would make the bench with only 5 spots available, and Gil Paquette being just a little bit more versatile. But thankfully, not too many injury concerns going in to today's episode. And first up, we'll take on the Phoenix Reserves and hopefully put a gap on them inside that top 2 of the National League Championship. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode against the Wellington Phoenix Reserves. We'll put our best 11 out for this one. Still far enough away from that grand final where hopefully we can just see this first team play through the rest of the season. If we can make the final with a game or two in hand, then rest some players for our final game, which is against the Dunedin City Royals, just to make sure no suspensions and also hopefully no injuries. The Phoenix Reserves, though, hot on our heels, so really need to pick up a result here. Otherwise, might be in danger of missing that grand final. And just shy of the 10-minute mark, first highlight of this game is a throw-in in our favour and right side of the opposition final third as well. White plays that one for them. Now Shusha with a shot gets deflected, and the Phoenix here actually with a chance on the counter-attack in the All Black today, considering we are in our traditional yellow with the blue shorts, and the Phoenix here look to get something going down the left-hand side early. It goes back to Clark though, so it looks like at the moment we have countered the counter-attack. We nearly win the ball back there through keep, but unfortunately a bit of a loose touch there, and Bashir gets the Phoenix Reserves on the attack, squares it for Isaac Kakache, no relation to Libby, but he puts the Phoenix Reserves up here 1-0 early at the GMP, and this would be a bad result because then that would make things very interesting going into that next game against Auckland City. Could give the Phoenix Reserves actually the box seat to make the grand final as we go 1-0 down early at home. And going forward 10 minutes from that opening goal, now we are back down the other end here for a throw-in yet again. Hopefully this time can actually do something with the ball and grab an equaliser. Nice ball there for Keat inside the box, but for some reason takes on the shot there from a tight angle. Thankfully, we do keep hold of possession. We'll see if this highlight does amount to anything more. Shusha back to McGoldrick. Now Tsukamoto finds Elliot out there in a bit of space. The former all-right right back. Now Lorenzo Janssen apparently has gone down. He's definitely gone down, still laying there. Didn't actually see the remainder of that highlight. But when another one does start here, we'll just see what happens to Janssen, who is off the field currently, and what does happen while he is off the field. Maybe Gil Paquette will have to come on for him, but we're back on the attack. Shusha loses position there briefly, but Dirty Ray Dominic does get it back for us. Nice ball over the top there for Shusha, but unfortunately, Luke header forward, not that great a chance, and I think here we might have to take off Janssen for Gil Paquette's forced into an early sub, and still 1-0 down. And a couple of minutes on from that enforced substitution, now it's a free kick for us here, which means Shusha will try and put in the back of the net. It forces a save there out of Wood in goal for the Phoenix Reserves. It might have even gone onto the post. And there it is, Gil Paquette off of the bench, having just come on for the injured Janssen, who will head that one home. So it's a bit of a scrappy goal, but thankfully Paquette, right place, right time. Kache really should have dealt with it before it got back to Paquette, but thankfully we grab an equaliser at the half-hour mark. And in fact, before we can wrap up that one, there is another highlight here, and hopefully we are back on the attack yet again. Duty Ray Dominic plays that one back to McGoldrick. Now Tsukamoto, nice ball for there to Shusha. And now, looks like starting to hit our stride. Nice sphere that from White for Lopez, but unfortunately, good save there from Wood, and even then, he was offside. Still 1-1, and yet again, another highlight shortly off the back of that one. Paquette plays that back to Dirty Ray Dom. Nice ball forward there for Keat. Squares it nicely for Lopez. He was onside too. That is a massive miss. Still 1-1, but certainly starting to get on the front foot off the back of that equaliser. Now with 10 minutes left in the first half, there is a corner. Victoros gets his heel on the end of that one, comes off the underside of the crossbar, so unfortunately he can't score a goal. He's been scoring lots of those for us recently from set piece, which is very nice indeed. Now the corner at the moment, we are trying to get something going there. Forces a good save there and amongst that from Wood for the Wellington Phoenix Reserves to keep it at 1-1. So we're definitely putting some pressure on them here, but just can't quite put ourselves in front prior to half-time, and they head that one away there to the Phoenix Reserves out to Shusha. We're still on the attack though. Victoros, poor pass that. Elliot gets us back on the ball, but I do think that'll be the highlight over, and 5 minutes shy of half-time, it's still 1-1. And that was it for the first half of this one. Fair to say it's been a bit more even than I was anticipating, but thankfully we certainly got on the front foot off the back of that equaliser through Paquette after Kakache did put the Phoenix Reserves up early by 1-0. Stephen Lopez up front is really struggling on a 6.3, so we'll take him off for Michael James Gilbert as we head into the second half, and hopefully that will help us pick up all 3 points. Otherwise, the Phoenix Reserves might still have a chance of overtaking us in that race for the grand final. And about 10 minutes into the second half, we get the first highlight of it here, and it is a throw-in yet again in our favour, near enough to inside of the final field. We put that one into the box, and Gilbert does control it, plays that back for Shusha. Lovely turn and control there, very composed finish into the bottom right corner, and we eventually take a 2-1 lead. Did feel like that was coming late in the first half, and thankfully, first highlight of the second, we do make it 2-1. Interesting pass this from Paquette to Gilbert, the striker. Not really in a position you'd expect a striker to be in, but nice play there to find Shusha in front of goal. He'll put that one home and make it 2-1, just as we're about to hit the hour mark in this game, albeit now down the other end for a Phoenix corner. Thankfully, Sheik, I think that was, got his head on the end of that one. It goes high and wide, and we're still 2-1 in front. Now back down the other end, and we are on the attack. Elliot will switch play here out to the left and to the all-white and Adam White. Now Shusha cuts inside looking for a third. Good save that though from Wood to tip that one onto the crossbar. So the Phoenix Reserves currently just clinging on here, but thankfully we're now 2-1 in front. And just make our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, and now it's a throw for us yet again inside the final third. Feels like lots of the highlights in this game have come from this situation. Rather fortunately, Elliott actually did get that ball, then unleashes a long-range effort after getting it back from Tsukamoto. Rather harshly, it's been given as an own goal against Clark there. It did look like that one might have been on target, but apparently not. So we'll just see what happened here. Tsukamoto back to Callum Elliott, first time finish, and it does actually take a pretty big deflection there as Clark does stick his leg up. Very nice goal that, even though it's a known one. That makes it 3-1, and thankfully that should be game over. And in fact, before we see this next highlight, we'll take off here Ray Dominic for Jamie Fletcher, our captain, and we'll just switch those guys around so they do have some slightly better star ratings. So that will be our final substitution off the back of taking a 3-1 lead. We'll just see what comes of the highlight that was about to start. It is a throw for the Phoenix. They put this one into the mixer, and Callum Elliott with a push in the back. That's some terrible defensive work considering he was always on the wrong side of that guy. Just pushed him over to make sure he could not score. And now Kumar with a chance to get the Phoenix right back into this one. He puts it away going straight down the middle. That makes it 3-2. Hopefully not going to bottle this late because we did just get into a really good position with that own goal, making it 3-1. But Callum Elliott there, some pretty average work. The Phoenix put away the penalty and make it 3-2. And very short effect of that goal, which did get the Phoenix right back into this one. They have a free kick, and Connor Smith with a fair bit of help there from the inside of the post will put that one past Hawkins. Some bad discipline here late from us. Does look like it could prove quite costly. We go from 3-1 in front very quickly to being locked up at 3-all as we're about to make our way into the last 10 minutes. Time for us now to berate the boys, and also I think it's time for us as well to go full out attack, and hopefully that might work like it has a few times in the past to hopefully help us pick up all 3 points from this one. And very short effect of going on to the full out attacking options that we do. There is a corner there for the Wellington Phoenix. Clark gets his head on the end of that one, but thankfully goes just over the crossbar. So that was not the highlight we were hoping for, having gone more attacking and also that higher defensive line, higher tempo that we usually do. Unfortunately, hasn't worked today. Usually helps us get a goal. Not the case here. And that is a really poor result, especially after working our way from 1-0 down to being 3-1 up with only around 20 minutes left. Callum Elliott there, stupid penalty to give away, and then a free kick, which to be fair was a good strike, but still bad discipline down the wrong end of the field after going 2 goals up. Does prove costly, and the Phoenix, they pick up a 3-all draw. That does mean now that Auckland City could grab a decent gap over us going into our match against them, which we'll show you guys highlights from before we take on Manurewa. But the Phoenix Reserves, if we lose that game, could potentially draw level on points with us. And here are the highlights from that Auckland City game at the Ramon Triboulet Arena, and we got off to a decent start here just before halftime. Nice ball over the top there from Janssen for Stephen Lopez. Play a lot better this day, made it 1-0. Unfortunately, only a few minutes later, just before halftime, bad work there from McGoldrick. Ukic gets in behind, puts it away. That was Auckland City's only shot of the first half. They made it 1-all, but thankfully, just before we did go into the second half, we go down the other end here and do get our lead back. Ray Dominic far post and Justin Keat can head that one home. So thankfully, that goal didn't prove too costly, and we kicked away a bit more in the second half. Janssen or to Lopez. Shusha just runs through the Auckland City defence and puts that one away, bottom left corner, to make it 3-1. And then with around 5 minutes left, Justin Keat makes his way down this right-hand side, gets in behind the defence a little bit, drags it back for Janssen, who from just outside the box puts that one away near enough into the bottom right corner. And thankfully, we beat Auckland City 4-1. That does mean we do now have a bit of a gap on the Wellington Phoenix in second, and also catch up to those guys on top of the National League Championship table. Match stats wise, we were just the better team in that game. To be for Auckland City, they did offer something, but thankfully our XG was a lot higher and we were a bit more efficient in front of goal than we should have been. So a nice 4-1 win there over Auckland City, especially off the back of that disappointing result against the Phoenix Reserves. And here is what the table does look like now in the National League. The Phoenix Reserves, they actually were beaten by Manurewa, our next opposition. So that is surprising. Manurewa actually have stormed up the table a little bit during the course of today's episode before we play them, now up in 7th. But these days, Wellington Olympic are the closest challenger to us, but they are 5 points behind us, only 2 games left in the league phase, so it does mean a win here over Manurewa, which at home you would hope would be the case. That will be enough for us to book our place into the grand final, and it would be against Auckland City, you'd imagine, being 6 points clear already of Wellington Olympic, and with a slightly superior goal differential as well. So a couple of good results for us there in the middle match between the two that we're showing you in today's episode. Next up, as I said, we take on an informed Manurewa team from up in Auckland. They are a 2-star reputation club, so to be fair, the same as us, and coming to this one off the back of those wins over Petone and the Phoenix Reserves 4-1. Definitely concerning considering how much we did struggle against the Phoenix Reserves, but thankfully bounced back with a win over Auckland City. Hopefully that will get us back on track. And one of the reasons that might have been the case is because we did change our tactics slightly off the back of that draw with the Phoenix Reserves, considering that was now 2 draws for us in the National League Championship phase that time with a full strength 11. We have switched our wing-backs to complete wing-backs, going back to the system and the roles that we did use up at AFC Auckland. Didn't use those roles when we first got here because honestly thought the players we had here might not be good enough for it, but Cullen Elliott and Adam White are international quality wing-backs, so that should no longer be an issue. So going back to complete wing-backs did look like it helped in that previous game. We'll see if that will also be the case here when we do take on Manurewa. We're going with the exact same 11 from that first game in today's episode. And hopefully we can pick up a win and book our place in the National League Championship Grand Final. And a quick look at the team sheets for the second game of today's episode. We hopefully will book our ticket to the grand final of this National League Championship. As I said before, same team that we've put out for those last two, and they are Manurewa. They are going with a 4-3-3 as you saw before. Starting to hit some form. Hopefully we can put an end to that and book our ticket into a grand final in tomorrow's episode. And it hasn't taken long for the first highlight of this game yet again thrown in our favour, much like all the highlights were pretty much in that first game. That frustrating draw against the Phoenix Reserves, but hopefully we've bounced back now off the back of that win over Auckland City. Good goal there for Lopez, but unfortunately, as it did look, he was offside just in behind there of that defensive line. So unfortunately, still 0-0, but a highlight right off the back of that. Hopefully we can continue to be on the front foot. A little bit of an almost kick clash here. Pretty much the opposite of our uniform, Manurewa, the blue with a bit of yellow and the yellow socks. We're of course in the yellow still. Poor pass there, and Lopez can make the most of that. Squares it nicely for Shusha, and that is a really good finish from a bit of a tight angle just inside of that right-hand post. That makes it 1-0 nice and early, and thankfully we do take a lead early in this one. Poor pass there, and Lopez did make the most of it, and Shusha, very nice finish there from the young Egyptian into the top right corner to make it 1-0 Cashmere. And only a few minutes on from that opening goal, now it's a free kick here in our favour, which Adam White will put far post, and Ollie McGoldrick rises like a salmon there and heads that one down into that bottom right corner to make it 2-0 nice and early. So already a cushion goal here, this one going better than that Phoenix Reserve game. Did good free kick routine to be fair, but surprised that Victoros wasn't actually on the end of that one instead of McGoldrick, but thankfully he puts it away, makes it 2-0, albeit right off the back of that there is a highlight. Manurewa will look to grab a goal back here. They're just trying to keep hold of possession inside of their own half, but good work there from Tsukamoto. Actually takes the ball off Louis Toomey, one of our first signings up at AFC Auckland. Obviously he's made his way back over here after maybe I'd suggest being let go by the Western Sydney Wanderers, but Shusha is on the attack just outside the box. That one goes back to Dirty Ray Dom. Now Tsukamoto from outside the box, good chance there, but puts it just wide, but early doors on the front foot, and 2-0 ahead. And we go just past the half-hour mark for the next highlight in this game, so it's been a little while off the back of that second goal, which we did score, but Manurewa again, really poor pass at the back there. Shusha squares that nicely for Lopez, can't quite hit the target, comes off the crossbar. That really should have been 3-0, but still 2 goals ahead. And it looks like that might do it for the first half. Good chance late there through Lopez to make it 3-0. Unfortunately, did hit the crossbar. 2-0 up at half-time, though. Manurewa have offered nothing, and to be fair, their passing at the back too has been pretty poor, so we're 2-0 in front. Would be hard not to be, considering the highlights that we have seen. Might make a change here, though, at half-time. Justin Keed out right, going a bit fairly, and also on a little bit of a deep yellow heart. We'll bring on for him here Gil Paquette. Also was going to actually look to bring on Julian Pike for Adam White, but unfortunately, because he's under 20, need to keep him out there. So it'll just be Gil Paquette coming on here for Justin Keat at halftime. Maybe later on, if we make it 3-0, we can make a few more subs and give Adam White a bit of a rest. I think Connor Kerwin might have to come on the under 20 balance just right, but a good first half as we're 2-0 in front. And it hasn't taken long at all here for the first highlight of the second half. Manurewa try and make their way into our half, but thankfully, good work there at right back. I think that was from Callan Elliott. And now we are back on the attack. Adam White plays a nice ball for there for Shusha, looking to make it 3-0, but Diver with a good save there for Manurewa to keep it 2-0 early stages of the second half. One more goal, and I think we can start to relax and book our ticket in the grand final of the National League. Nothing doing though from that corner, so we're still only 2 goals in front. And just about to make our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, and Adam White has now gone down to a red heart, so it's time for us to make our last couple of subs here. Obviously, seeing as Connor Kerwin does need to come on for us to keep up that under 20 rule, that we do need 2 players out there. So Kerwin, he can come on for Victor Ross on the worst rating of our centre backs, and Julian Pike, he can play left back for these last 20 minutes as we're still 2-0 in front. And just making our way into the last 10 minutes of this game, to be fair, the second half has not been up too much at all, but we eventually get to highlight a corner in our favour. Janssen there going near post. I think McGoldrick there got his head on the end of that one, but it's straight to the path of Diver, who can make a pretty easy save there while staying on his feet. But nothing happening here in injury time. Manurewa don't even get a shot off in the entire game. We pick up a very comfortable 2-0 win. Certainly could have been by more, considering how much they struggled in the first half to make their way out from the back. But 2-0 will take that. Good solid win off the back of that prior one over Auckland City. And thankfully, despite the fact we've dropped a few points here in the championship phase of the National League this season, that will be enough for us to make the grand final. So we bounce back from that disappointing result. First up, in today's episode, the draw against the Phoenix Reserves with wins there over Auckland City and Manurewa, and that's enough for us to set up a final in tomorrow's episode, yet again against Auckland City. So thankfully, didn't show you guys too much of that game, because we'll be taking them on yet again in tomorrow's episode. And hopefully this season we can actually beat them, even though they might go into that one as the top qualifiers, still 1 point above us. And with one more round left, they will be taking on, if we can find it, Manukau United. We take on the Dunedin City Royals. I think both teams should be winning those games, but hopefully the final yet again will be at a neutral venue like Sky Stadium. So hopefully finishing second behind them won't make too much difference, and this time we can get the better of them in the big dance. But that will do it for today's episode. Just doing enough there to book our ticket in the National League Grand Final with a game in hand. If you enjoyed the episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow for that grand final against Auckland City, and also get through the end of season review and all that type of stuff. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.